This is Bowling Beyond 200. I'm your host, John Baker, and today we have a very special program. Have you ever thought to yourself, I need a coach, or who is the best coach, or how do I pick a coach? Today we have one of the nation's top 100 coaches, and then I mentioned he was a pretty darn good bowler as well. With I hope I get this right, Mark. 4 PBA Tour titles, 6 regional, 14 PCB or Pacific Professional Coast Bowlers. He was a PBA George Young High Average Award in 1985. Bowlers Journal First All-American Team. Sorry, got that wrong. Bowlers Journal Second Team All-American 1984 and 1986. And 3-time Southern California Bowling Writers Bowler of the Year. Also was in the Orange County. Pretty good so far? Yeah. And Orange County and Southern California Bowling Writers Hall of Fame. That is, we welcome to the show, Coach Mark Baker. Mark?
Thank you. All those stats just means I'm really old.
Well, you and I grew up in the same part of Southern California. Spent a little time running around with Champion Lanes and, of course, Fountain Bowl, right?
Yep, Champion Lanes is where I learned how to bowl, and now I currently coach and do a lot of things at Fountain Bowl, correct.
Right. I know you spent a little time there because when I was there, I must have been too many years, 12 years. I know you spent a little time there. I know you and is it Barry still doing your coaching with you?
Yeah, we do our Saturday clinic every week. I think we average close to 1,200 to 1,400 bowlers every year come in on Saturdays between 12:15 and 2 o'clock. It's only $10, and we kind of give everybody tips and coaching, and it works out real well.
Well, that sounds like a great deal. You also have authored 2 books. One was called The Game Changer, and one was called The System.
Yeah, one's a book and one's a DVD.
DVD. Okay.
The System's a DVD, and The Game Changer was a book. Correct.
Okay. Just I got a few questions, and Peter, you can chime in whenever you like. What drew you to becoming a coach?
People, when I got done bowling for my career, I started getting a lot of requests for lessons, and it was never a goal. I wasn't very good when I started, but I like people a lot, and I seemed to get really good results pretty quick, and I just kept doing it more and more, and pretty soon it became a career. It was never a goal, but it turned into one.
The best way is accidentally find a career.
Once I started doing it and started working pretty well, obviously I liked it. Obviously you're self-employed when you're a pro bowler, so now I'm still self-employed as a coach. So once you get used to that mentality in life, it's hard to work for somebody else when you're used to working for yourself.
What advice would you give, let's say, a new bowler who wants to get better?
Practice. The biggest difference from my era to now, there's a lot of reasons why maybe it doesn't happen, but I used to bowl anywhere between 50 and 100 games a week, every week. I mean, that's just what you did. There was only one way to get better and get good, was spend a lot of time. Now, people don't practice as much. A lot of it's because of cost. At certain bowling centers, if you can't get a deal on lineage, it's very expensive to practice a lot. So that's a tricky thing. But the only way to get better, anything you do in life, is put a lot of time in it. You don't become a doctor by putting 2 hours a week in. You're not going to become good at anything by not practicing.
When I say practice, is there a special or certain way someone should practice? Is there something you should work on only?
No, it's whatever works for you. If you ask 20 different really, really good bowlers, they'll have 20 different theories. I mean, you got the Chris Barneses and the David Ozios who just like to bowl a ton. Marshall Holman barely practiced at all. So somewhere in the middle, I'm sure, is normal. Patrick Allen was a big practice guy. Some guys like to put a lot of games in. Some guys like to put in 20, 30 games a week. It has to be with your personality. But for the most part, everybody puts in a lot of practice.
Yeah, I agree with you guys there. There's no question. Practice is key. Nothing good comes overnight. It takes a lot of dedication and a lot of time.
Pretty much. That's just not. I mean, it's just not for bowling. I mean, anything you do in life. If you want to get good at golf or you want to get good at Sudoku, you got to spend some time doing it to get good at anything. No shortcuts.
No shortcuts. Yeah, say there's no magic way to go from a 220 bowler to a professional bowler.
Yeah, that's not a real easy jump. That's not as easy as everybody thinks, I don't think. There's a big difference between a 220 league bowler and the guys who bowl for a living. Don't kid yourself. I don't care what anybody says on social media. You got to have those guys are pretty damn good.
I got a quick question for you, Mark. What was like the game-changing point in your career, or like the breakout point in your career when you decided to, change your game from just being an average Joe bowler to stepping it up to the professional level?
How do I answer that and not be a jerk? I was never an average Joe bowler, I guess. I skipped that theory in life. I don't do anything like that. So I got good quick. By the time my third year of bowling, I was Southern California Junior Bowl of the Year. And then, you watch it. They were on every Saturday on the ABC. And then back in my day, it was two guys, Mark Roth and Marshall Holman. I just wanted to see how good I was. So I just worked and went on tour. If I was going to bowl, I wanted to be high average in every league I bowled. So I kept getting in better leagues, and I kept becoming high average. So after doing well in juniors, the next step, back then, there wasn't much college. The next step was the tour. And I went on tour when I was 19 and proceeded to get killed. Those guys were good.
They are good. I bowled one PCB event, and that wasn't, well, that you've been on the professional close bowlers, but those were some good guys out there too, but not near the caliber they were on the PBA Tour back then in the 80s, 85.
Yeah, I mean, the PCB was a great, it was like the regionals of Southern California. So we had at that time, there were a lot of touring players that lived in Southern California. Dave Frame and Freddie Connor and Jay Robinson, Warren Nelson. So there were a lot of guys that were tough on tour that would come home and bowl those. So when I started holding my own with that group, I decided to give it a chance.
What kind of advice would you give for, let's say, besides practice, someone who wants to go on tour, what kind of advice would you give them? Don't?
Well, I mean, if you got the dream and you get one life, I mean, that's it. You get one chance at this thing. You get one swing at life. If that's what you want to do it. I mean, you don't want to have any regrets. So you would have to become the best bowler in your area. Wherever you live, you need to be the best guy there, because all the guys on tour are the best guys from their area. So once you become the best guy and there's no more competition, you go on tour to see how good you are. So I would say if you have the dream and you're willing to work, the financial resources to do it, give it a shot.
So would you say a coach would be a good way to go as well? Get someone to help coach you that's been out there, someone like yourself?
Yeah, there's not too many athletes in any sport that do it coach free. You don't need to be too crazy with the coach, but you need somebody to bounce ideas off of, and what you really need is another set of eyes to tell you the truth. Is kind of how Chris Barnes puts it. We disagree more than we agree, but I'll tell him what I really think, and he'll tell me what he feels, and then we got to come up with a solution. So you need somebody you trust. So when you're throwing it your best, and the coach sees it independently, like, wow, that's really good, then you guys mesh. That's kind of the key to having a really good coach, I think. Is when you throw your best shot and it feels great, the person watching you with no emotion also thinks it's a great shot. So when you're on the same page, then you can get somewhere.
Somebody can bounce stuff off and say, yeah, hey, you messed that up. You got to work on this, right? Somebody could have a little thing.
Well, it's not quite, yes. It's more like, especially at that level, when they throw 2 or 3 in a row, you're the guy saying, yeah, that's a 3-bagger, but we both know the first one was good, the other 2 were okay. You coach those guys different than you coach the average bowler. The grading scale is really high, and it's not very fair. It's harsh.
Would you say that it's harder to coach a new bowler or a professional? I mean, that's
professional. New bowler, you would never be that hard.
Never that hard.
You're just trying to hit the head pin and enjoy the game.
Peter, do you have anything to add to that?
You're talking about some of the pros that you're familiar with, in your era. Who are some of the pros that you kind of look up to nowadays?
Who do I think's really good? You mean? I'm 6'4". I don't look up any of them.
Sure you do. I got you beat there.
So for longevity, it's Pete and Walter. They're impressive. Norm Duke. Obviously, Jason Belmonte. Probably the best bowler in the world right now is E.J. Tackett. Jesper Svensson's pretty tough. But also, I work with my guys. I still like Tommy Jones and Bill O'Neill, Chris Barnes. There's a lot of good bowlers out there. This young, the Francis Lavoie coming up, really impressive. There's a lot of good. There's a new group coming up that's really good.
Does that answer your question, Peter?
Yeah. Oh no, that's great. Thanks.
Now, Coach, are you going to be managing in the PBA League again this year?
Yep, we go back to Maine in the middle of April. April 15th, I believe. I'll be back in Maine.
And that's the Silver Lake Atom Splitters. And who's on that team?
Chris Barnes, Jesper Svensson, Tom Doherty, Sean Maldonado, and DJ Archer. There are a lot of pretty good teams in that league. You know, it's a lot of fun. Put a new team together this year. Hopefully we can go back to our winning ways. We won it twice. Didn't do very well last year. Look to do better this year.
I got a question as a personal question. Now, you're 6'4", but I got you beat by a couple inches there. I'm 6'7", 6'8". What kind of advice would you give a taller player? There's a definite difference in styles.
Yeah, the taller player has to watch where his head goes because our weight, if we get too far forward and the weight gets in our shoulders and our head, we fall off. So the key for a tall guy is to keep his head behind his knees at all times. You're so tall, if you're, I'm much taller than Pete Weber. If Pete Weber gets a little bit forward, it doesn't really hurt his center of gravity. If I get forward, I fall off every time.
And you tried to correct that a couple years ago with me.
Got to get the body ahead of your swing and keep your head behind your knee. It'll make things better.
That's a great tip. I'm 6'2". I've never heard that one before. I'm going to have to start practicing that.
It'll work. It's worked for a lot of years. I stay busy.
2 clinics a year, right? In Vegas, the Camp Bakes.
Yeah, I do 2 camps a year, and I do clinics with Chris all over the United States.
Now, can you tell us a little bit about Camp Bakes? I'm getting feedback. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's really rain. I'm driving to Northern California to coach for a week, so if it kicks out, it's just because it's pouring rain where I'm at right now. Southern California, we finally got rain. So I have 2 camps a year in May and October. It's at Sunset Station in Henderson, Nevada. I bring in Doug Kent, Dave Husted, Robbie Romeo, Joe Hutchinson, Barry Asher, and John Gaines as my coaches. We run a 3.5-day bowling clinic. They get 3 balls from 900 Global. I feed them a bunch of food, and we bowl a lot, do a lot of PowerPoint presentations. And the camp's it's our 26th camp coming up. It's already sold out for May. I've got about 20 spots already sold in October.
Doug Kent. Now, there's a name I'm familiar with. He's right out of my neck of the woods. I'm out over here in the East Coast, out of Rochester, New York, and Doug's really close. He's out of Canandaigua, right?
Yep. Doug's a good man. Hard worker. Excellent. He's a very good coach.
That's a question about, you've seen the equipment change from the 80s to now. What's the biggest change you see coming up in the future? Anything you can see coming up that'll change the game again, or is everybody going to be where we're at now?
I mean, the bowling ball, I can't see how the bowling ball gets a whole lot stronger. So I'm not sure. I mean, just the athleticism of the guys bowling are pretty good. So, I mean, I don't know how high a rev rate can get. Tackett's about maxed out at 600. So I'm not sure what the next innovation would be. Obviously, the two-handed thing's here to stay. And, I mean, they're not completely taken over, but the ones that are good at it are really, really good at it. And when they're on, they're hard to beat.
Well, thank you, Coach, for being on our show, and we appreciate you out there. Anyways, it's markbakerbowling.com is your website. And check out markbakerbowling.com, and you can see the book, The Game Changer, and I think you can order a DVD there as well, can you?
Yeah, DVD The System. Yep.
Great, and to check out the DVD The System. And we'd like to thank our sponsors, Old Roy's Unique Bowling Ball Cleaner and lane1bowling.com. And of course, I also want to welcome Eileen's Bowling Buddy as a sponsor to our show. Again, thank you, Mark, for being on, and we'll talk to you again soon.